Some content or topics discussed could trigger a past anxiety or be sensitive or disturbing to listen to or view. Please view and listen with caution. Hi, my name is Todd Bly-Levin. I'm one of the hosts of the Walking Tall podcast, and it's our mission to help all people that are down and depressed or dealing with some sort of trauma or mental health issue to learn how to stand back up and walk tall again in their lives. Please follow us on all of our social platforms, our YouTube channel, and check out our Walking Tall movement at www.walkingtallmovement.com. Now, here's our show.
Welcome back to Walking Tall. If you were with us last week, we talked about anger, what that emotion of ours is telling us about ourselves, and what we need to be aware of so that it does not get out of control. Todd, I hope, like myself, last week's conversation taught you some things. And if so, what were your takeaways and how were you feeling walking away from last week's conversation?
I thought it was a really, really great episode. I thought that we covered a lot. Obviously, there's a lot going on in our country right now, and a lot of people are hurt. A lot of people are confused, and that makes you angry. I get angry. I think since that episode, I've been noticing some things about myself too, just on how, maybe something pops up in the news or something that's going on in our society or local community that upsets me. And I think that if you missed last show, you need to go back and watch it. I think it's you'll have a better understanding of probably about yourself and then how you deal with certain things. At the end, love wins, right? And so we got to make sure that we're just paving that path and thinking long-term and not right in the moment. So I thought it was really great.
Yeah, no, I thought so too. And that was really a great explanation. And, something you said, Dr. LaRosa, that I really took away with is that executive boss function, right? I think we kind of joked a little bit about that back and forth, but it really did resonate and ring true with me. I have to really sit back and think, okay, which version of myself is really trying to control this situation, the executive boss or the rational thinker, right? And so thanks for that, really relatable explanation. But yeah, after hearing last week's show and thinking about the conversation, how did you feel yourself?
I thought it was very stimulating, intellectually. It was a nice, good cognitive dive into the emotion of anger. And it really kind of highlighted the importance of our frontal lobes and the fact that the frontal lobe does not fully mature until a person is about 33 years of age should tell us a lot about what our young people have to deal with in society these days with everything that they are taxed to handle. We should understand as parents and as adults, as leaders and caregivers, that it's an arduous task and it's a burden for these young people. And so we shouldn't be so quick to punish their expression of anger or stop it or in some way control it. It's healthy if it is dealt with in the right way. And I think that we should all just keep in mind that it's a different world, it's sad, but true. There's a lot psychologically that young people have to deal with.
Yeah, no, I think that's very well said. And it actually transitions very well. You probably didn't even plan it, Dr. LaRosa, but it transitions very well into our guest this week, right? You mentioned young people and how, brain several times, you've mentioned on different episodes how the brain is not fully developed until 33 and whatnot. And, this week's guest, Mr. Amir Fakhari, experienced something at a young age that was very traumatic to his brain. Pre-development age, right? Pre-33. And so we're going to be so excited. And I know our listeners are going to be so honored to hear the story. But before we bring him on, I just want to introduce, as I said, Amir Fakhari, who will be today's guest. I first met Amir in 2017. Believe it or not, I was looking to hire camp counselors, and Amir was in need of a summer job. And somebody I had just hired had reached out to me and said, hey, my friend Amir is looking for a summer job. He'd be an amazing counselor. Why don't you give him a call? And so I did. And little did I know that would turn into a 6-year-long friendship, and now a young man who I have just great respect for. But while I was interviewing Amir for that job, I learned of his traumatic brain injury he suffered while on a football field while as a high school student athlete at Highland Park High School here in Illinois. His resiliency and true character was shown just in that one interview, and his strength in discussing his injury. But after Amir graduated high school, he went on to North Park University, where I just learned to love him more and learned about who he was as a person. He still remained an employee at the Park District of Highland Park. But as we got to know each other a little bit better, and as he became more comfortable with himself, he began to disclose to me some of the mental health struggles that he was encountering due to his traumatic brain injury, which included depression and suicide thoughts and attempts. And he's going to get into that as well. But I'm so excited to say that Amir just this past weekend graduated from North Park University, and he's going to be attending Midwestern University here in the Chicagoland area, moving on to become a physical therapist. And it's just my honor, and Todd, if you don't mind letting him in, for us to have Amir Fakhari on the show. And with that being said, Todd, let's have him on, and we'll get started.
Here we go. Ding dong.
There he is. All right, Amir, welcome to the Walking Tall movement. We are just so excited to have you on today's show. You'll have to wait to hear your introduction. But, as I said during that introduction, I'm just so excited both for Dr. LaRosa and Todd to get to know you, but also our listeners to get to hear your story today. It's one that I found to be impactful over the course of our relationship and friendship, and one I certainly think many should hear about. And it started with the game of football and your love for the gridiron. So if you don't mind, talk to us a little bit about who you are and how your love of football came to be, and what that led you to encounter. So welcome.
All right. Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and just the advocacy and like the voice that you give to so many people that it's just truly admirable work that you three are doing.
Thank you.
But yeah, football. So the passion grew for football during the end of the season, my first season of playing in 5th grade. It was I was like kind of like a little soft, like a huskier set kid, and I didn't really know what to do in football. I joined because like I want to be part of like a community type thing, and I remember one day we were doing Oklahoma in practice, which is basically just like a one-on-one thing, like offense, defense, ball carrier and defender, and the ball carrier just tries to get past the defender through like jukes or whatever. And I remember I came into that practice frustrated for I don't know what reason, probably some like silly thing, but like got under my skin. And I remember like we termed what I did as trucking in football. It just basically you like kind of duck your head down and run through the person. You don't even try to do anything fancy. You just run through it. And I remember doing that, and like it didn't feel like I did it a lot. I don't know, because of how like tense I was and stressed I was, or angry I was, whatever stressor that was I came in with. And I just remember like finishing the drill, and like everyone was just screaming and like out of joy and excitement. And I remember like, whoa, did I do that? I don't know, that felt so good. And so that's really how my passion and like kind of obsession with the game began.
Sure.
And so yeah, then I played from 5th grade to sophomore year, and like each year I would like the love for the game grew more. I would practice more. Like sometimes I would practice like 3 times a day, like during the season.
What position were you playing?
Oh, I kind of played all over throughout my career of football, from like lineman to running back. But my final year, I was a weak side linebacker and a wing back, and also special teams. I was weirdly the long snapper and the punter in the same season. So,
Bugs Bunny football. Bugs Bunny football.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of guys to play. But yeah. So my final year, I was a weak side linebacker and wing back, and but yeah, I played like left guard, like lineman. I played defensive lineman. I never played free safety though. I was never that skinny to be in that position. So um but I played, and like the love of the game grew. I would do like camps, like to in a sense get my name out there for hopefully, like my dream was, of course, like every other kid, was to play in the NFL. And but first you got to go to college. And so uh I so I'd like do like camps. Like I remember doing a Northwestern camp. I think I did a Iowa one as well. Just like drills, like 40-yard dash and like the 5-10-5 shuttle. Um and yeah, so but that all goes to say like how obsessed I was with this game. Um and so yeah, I was just like really solely focused on football, or athletics in general, but like mostly football. Um and I kind of disregarded basically everything else, like from like my religion to my family, prior to my brain injury, uh which, looking back on it, like I, like, of course, like, do not admire that about what I did, though I can't really change it. And or not really can't really change it, but I for sure cannot change it, but just kind of taking what I did and learning from it. But so yeah, then my sophomore year, which was the year I got my brain injury, arrived. And yeah, so the fifth game of the year, I uh, dove to block a field goal, and I successfully did. Though I dragged my head on the ground for like 3-4 yards, which resulted in me getting a concussion. And I didn't tell anyone about it, because I just really wanted to play. And yeah, so I just kind of kept it myself for the entire week until the next game day. Though what I didn't know is that I developed a brain aneurysm on that day, but a very minor one. Though over the course of the week, with all subconcussive blows, it just grew and grew. And so game day happened on September 30th of 2016, and I had the best game of my life, and also the last game of my life, and quite like it was very like possible be my last day of life as well. And so towards the end of the game, I dove for a pass and I landed weird on the right side of my head. And I kind of this is a good illustration I like to use, so you can see it with the white background. So pretend my fist is a brain, this ring is my this is the aneurysm, and this is a skull. I dove and I landed on the right side of my head, and so it was on the left side, and so it just popped like a balloon, is really the most non-medical way to say it. But yeah. And so at the time I didn't know like what it was. I just knew something wasn't right. And so I got right back up and I finished the game, like I would imagine, solely like running off of adrenaline, because we were down by less than a touchdown, rivalry game. And there were so many factors that played into why I stood back up. And so, and I finished the game with there was like 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, though it lasted like 5 minutes because football like takes forever. And so at the end of the game, I wasn't able to high five the other team on the 50-yard line like how high schools do. Instead, I was just sitting on the bench, and then a person came up to me and asked like what was wrong. I just said I don't feel well, and the individual just told me to lay down because he knew I was about to pass out. And then in the process of laying down, my eyes rolled back and I just collapsed. And they rushed me to Condo Medical Health Center in Libertyville, which was the nearest level 1 trauma center in the proximity of Deerfield High School. And so what they did was they they suspected the blood had spread all over the left side of my brain because of one, like I was playing a contact sport and it kind of like my head was like shaking. And also, they hypothesized that through my left pupil was dilated. So no matter how much light they shine, it wouldn't constrict. And so they performed a left frontal, temporal, parietal, occipital craniectomy, which is like, that's all regions of the skull. So they literally took the left side of my skull off
Wow.
to clean the blood and remove the aneurysm. And what they did was they placed in my lower left side of my abdominal for safe and stroke keeping while the brain had time to heal and expand and grow into what it was before. And yeah, from that day on, or from that day, I would be in a coma for the next nearly a month. And while really everything of my personal world was just falling apart, from like both my life to like my loved one's life. And yeah, it wasn't an easy time on any of us in my world. And so yeah, I lost like close to like 50 pounds when I was in a coma, like my bones, and just like I was falling apart. Like at one point my left lung collapsed as well, the inactivity. And yeah, like my family would just, it was like, I can't like verbalize how much pain they went through. And yeah, and I just, yeah, which really, like looking back on it, showed the strength that they had, it's like to like continue and just like to pray while like everything seemed hopeless. And but yeah, so but then by like through God, like I woke up and I just had to basically relearn how to do everything again, from walking, talking, eating, everything. And so when I gained relative like knowledge of what was going on, which wasn't immediately after I woke up, as well, like the trauma and the like the medication and such. So just like I woke up and just like all drowsy, I guess you can label it as. But the first question I asked my neurosurgeon, and keep in mind, like this is me in lying on the hospital bed, with like tube, like a hospital gown, running and tubes running in and out of me and such, was if I could play football again. It wasn't if I could walk again, like without assistance, or be the same person I was again, but it was if I could play this game again. And so when he said no, I remember looking out in the window and just like, now what was like a depressingly gray like fog that I was living in for the past like almost 3 weeks. And so, but yeah, so that was kind of how my struggle with mental health began. And not saying that like I didn't have anything going on prior to my injury, but like prior to my injury, like whatever was going on, I would release it in the field. Like how I learned that one day in 5th grade, like it felt awesome. So, and so, yeah, that was like in a sense my therapy. And so, and I didn't really have that anymore. And so I never really learned how to be vulnerable as a man, specifically a Middle Eastern man, and just like so it just I concealed it and bottled it up so much, and to the point where I would just like be exhausted from doing nothing, or what others would see as nothing, but my mind would just be at a warfare with itself. And so yeah, so and just like it was tough from that day, or so from basically when I woke
Amir,
up. Yeah.
Amir, so I'm sorry to interject, but You touched on number one. I'm so thankful. I know we all are. We mentioned this earlier to you that, you're here. Number one, going through an injury like that, some don't make it through that. The adversity that you went through, the challenge in your life to just merely get out of that hospital bed is truly a miracle, and it's amazing, and it's a true testament to your strength and to your family's strength too, that sat by you at that bedside. And I can't even imagine as a parent what your parents and family and friends were going through as they were praying and hoping that you were okay. So it's enlightening, it's invigorating that you're here and that you're telling us this story. Number one, it's tough, whether we leave are forced to leave a career, forced to stop playing sports one day because we're just maybe not good enough. Maybe the game just speeds up enough on us, and we don't have that opportunity to outlet, to try to live our dream. But another to go through an injury like you went through and then have everything cut off immediately. So my heart goes out to you. I just spoke to somebody the other day about their end of their game and how depressing it was. I went through a major depression when baseball was over for me. I know Chris and we spoke about that, from the playing or the coaching, and the day you kind of step out of the career of sports. It's really challenging. So I just wanted to break it up just a little bit and maybe just talk more about, before you start getting into the darker days of what came with this trauma, not only physically and mentally, more importantly too, what that felt like, going through that therapy, after you came out of your coma. Obviously you're happy to be alive, but then the impact of knowing, hey, my life is going to change now. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, thank you for your kind words. It means a lot. And yeah, so my life certainly did change, whether I liked it or not. So well, the big change was that I couldn't play like football, let alone any contact sport anymore, which was kind of really all I knew. So I didn't really know who I was without this game. And so I had to do um, a lot of, I guess you could label as soul searching as to like who I was without this game. And it was tough. Uh, though like my family and my dear friends helped me just to um, see see light when I was surrounded by darkness, and which like just kind of like a general PSA to everyone watching: like if you can be someone's light in their darkness, like be it, because you never know how vital that could be for their life. And so, but yeah, so like through like my family and my loved ones, like I was able to see a lot of light, and um, it was certainly hard because like I never I didn't heal from the injury of not playing anymore, the more the emotional, like mental injury, for a long time afterwards, because like I was like really solely focused on physically, like how like I'm doing physically and mentally, like mentally and for sake of like memory wise, um, which was a huge thing that was impacted. My like I'll do a little bit of a side story. Like I remember one of my coaches telling me that like when I was in the hospital, and he visited me, and we were like talking or no, it was a few friends were visiting me, and we were talking for, I don't know, like 20-30 minutes, and they headed out, and they saw passing the hallway one of my coaches, and then one of my coaches, uh, when he entered the room, like after like saying hi and whatnot, he asked what were you and the guys talking about? And I just had zero recollection of them even being there. And that, like, I don't think a minute had passed. And so, though, going back to like your question, Todd, um, which was like how like it was missing,
Well, yeah, no,
like
talk to us about what that piece, Amir, led to, right? I think, your story it goes well beyond your brain injury, and there's more mental health hurdles that, this injury caused and the lack of football spurned. So talk to us about, what transpired over the last couple of years and what really caused you, above all else, now to be a really strong mental health advocate as you are.
for sure. Um, I think by knowing, like from personal experience, not just like personally, like me person, but like anyone personal experience, what it's like to go through set amount of challenges or set challenges and to have such repercussions, like mental health wise, like depression. For me, depression was a big thing. And partial like PTSD symptoms. But depression was the main thing. And to like know what it's like to have that and can really help you develop true empathy and for others going through it doesn't have to be like the same thing. Like not a lot of people go through exactly what, like for example, me went through, or any of us. Like we all have, like, in a sense, like customized struggles, I like to say. So you can't really say like I know exactly what you're going through, but like the end result of like being depressed, like I know what being depressed is like. And so but yeah, so I haven't really, so I would always advocate for others, though I would never really advocate for myself that much. Because of like so many things, like I just really didn't know how to. And so in the year of 2021, it kind of all came crashing down on multiple occasions. I like the heaviness of everything I was carrying from other people and from just like the brain injury and just like basically like in a sense the injuries of not speaking up for myself really weighed on me. And of course, in addition to a lot of other things, on 6 separate days / occasions, I tried to not be here anymore. And it was a very, very difficult time for me personally, and just like the shame that went with it, and just like for a variety of reasons, though through like I guess you can't really find yourself if you're not lost, I remember hearing once. And so like I was able to find myself through like other people, through like or in like nature. And so like I love to like go on walks in nature. It kind of you find yourself when you're not even looking. And so I was able to find myself and just advocate for myself. And after those like attempts, I was able to have the strength to seek help for myself and go to therapy for the first time. And initially, it wasn't like the best experience because but I didn't know it wasn't a good experience. I never really had any history with it to know if it was good or bad. I just know like the concept of it was good. And so I sought out help for like 8 weeks. And just like and at one point I'm like, I'm not gaining anything from this. And I stopped. And then later that year of 2021, I restarted again. And with now, with this therapist I've been with for like the past like 2 years, and he's been a tremendous help. And so yeah, like
Amir,
like,
No, yeah, Amir, I was
Amir,
gonna say too.
one-
Go ahead, Todd. Yeah, have at it.
yeah, one thing I'd like to maybe touch on, because it's interesting to me. I want to know a little bit more. You attempted suicide 6 times. On your last attempt, what changed your mind when here you are, you're at the darkest moment in your life, right? I mean, it's dark, it's deep, and you attempt this to end your life, but yet something changes. And what was that like rising moment for you where you just turned around and said, you know what? No, I want to live, and I want to do this. What did you do? Why did you decide to take to step forward and walk tall for yourself?
I think like me realizing the day after my last attempt that it won't solve anything really for me. Um, and it's a matter of like choosing to live in, basically I was living with like depression for like from the brain injury till then. And I just kept on holding on to the past of like, and holding on to like all the mistakes. And like when you keep things internally, like it kind of exponentially gets worse and you don't like speak up about it. And there's like really powerful phrase I like to use by this from John Dornbos. He's former NFL player and former like America's Got Talent contestant. I love like his story, just remarkable. He really exemplifies walking tall, and to talk to yourself, don't listen to yourself, which I love because I feel like when you listen to yourself and you're like silent, or like your brain can tell you a lot of things that aren't necessarily true. And then when you talk to yourself, like talking to the mirror, like I talk to myself a lot of times, and like basically every day, and to like say like, all right, no, I got to do this, got to do that,
Yeah.
and you're not said thing because you didn't complete said thing. It just you're a human, yeah. And so,
No, Amir, that's like, I want to just first off say, hearing your story as already known it, and Todd, I've been so appreciative of you jumping in today. It's been just, hearing what you went through has been really hard. It's really just, it strikes me, right? I've known you for a long time. I would never thought of these things of you, but to know your strength now is really remarkable. And I've been so excited to hear what Dr. LaRosa has to say. I could almost feel her chomping at the bit. As Amir, you were given the medical terms of the brain and the skull. I could just hear her going, yes, yes. So Dr. LaRosa, please, I know, what Amir's been saying about his injury, to his depression, to, his suicide attempts have really resonated. And I'm sure there's a commonality amongst many people with traumatic brain injuries and things of that sort. So I've been waiting. I know we all have probably been excited to hear what you have to say. So have at it.
Well, there's so much that I would like to say right now. I don't even know where to begin. Amir, you just represent so many young athletes in the way that you perceived your identity in relation to your sport, in the way that that sport valued you and gave you friendships and connections and a sense of community, a sense of support and belonging. That's what we all seek as human beings. And the world of sports does a really good job of providing that to our kids. I have 2 sons, and one of them is, a multi-sport athlete. And, when he experiences hard times, I see that he drifts, in and out of depressive phases. But you just exemplify, in terms of what you went through and the way that you described it, how hard it is for a young athlete to give up a sport that they identify with wholeheartedly, and in a unilateral fashion. I mean, that was you, that represented you. That's what you thought your worth and your value and the whole representation of yourself was wrapped up in that sport. And being a sophomore, I assume you were 15 or so, when this happened to you, and it's a traumatic experience in and of itself. But what's important to understand from that is that with a traumatic brain injury in and of itself, a person is likely and more common to experience depression, anxiety, irritability, mood lability, instability, low self-esteem, self-doubt. All of these things it's the after effect of a traumatic brain injury. And a lot of times the full effects of the injury don't even show up until 1 year post injury. So it's very, very hard to gauge the level of severity of those psychological experiences that somebody goes through. Now, take on top of that a process that happens between the ages of 2 and 16 mostly, but ending around 16-ish. It's called synaptic pruning. So this is when your brain is getting rid of all of those additional synapses in your brain that are not needed. So your brain is making itself much more efficient during this time of pruning so that you can process a variety of things more efficiently. It's a natural process. We all go through it. You experience a traumatic brain injury right in the middle of that. So the after effects and all of the healing that your brain had to do, tremendous. I just want to give your brain a round of applause. Look at you now going in becoming a physical therapist and graduating and starting religious affiliations, which I won't spoil because I want you to talk about. But all the things that you've done, your brain is a superhero. I just want to take it out and give it a hug. I give you a hug if I had you here. But you just represent everything that is so good about people your age. And from that vulnerable age of 15, I could just cry, thinking about that heavy burden that was on you, and there's no need for you to feel bad or guilty for the pain that your family went through. They love you, and that's normal, and that was going to happen, regardless. And you're blessed, obviously, to have such love, and I know that you know that. So you've done such a great job explaining everything that you've been through. The self-forgiveness, the understanding that your identity was not just the value that you had in that sport, and that everything that you brought out that was good for the people around you is just having an opportunity to express itself now in different forums and stages of life. And thank God you gave yourself the chance to experience that. Because there's a lot of good that your personality just exudes love, support, and dedication. And for people to know you is just an absolute blessing. So thank goodness that you have walked tall for yourself and you found that therapist that's there with you, and you're on this road to healing, because what you went through was it's not just a traumatic brain injury. Your life went through a trauma. And at that age, it's so hard to fathom how somebody could get through what you went through without suffering those consequences. And I'm so grateful that you have put so much work into yourself to get through it, and sharing the story with others is going to definitely resonate with so many people.
Yeah, no, you said something, Dr. LaRosa, too. I think you said just to know you is an honor, or something along those lines just a few seconds ago. And as I said, I've had the honor of knowing Amir since 2017, and just to see his strength and watch him grow as a young man and see all the things he's accomplishing in his personal life. And I want to highlight some of those. So Amir, you just graduated recently from North Park University, and you got some big plans for yourself in the future. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about, briefly what college was like for you at North Park? What folks may not know, it's a significantly Christian university institution, and that's certainly fine by all means. But you, as you mentioned, being a Middle Eastern man or Muslim yourself, and you've done some pretty cool things there as well. So talk to us about college, your graduation, what you got planned. Let's talk about some good stuff. Let's have a little more fun.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, North Park University it is a Christian university, not just predominantly, it is a Christian
Yeah, it is.
university. Um, and so yeah, I came to know about it through their exercise science department, like which is a good like bachelor degree for like physical therapy, which I hopefully want to become a physical therapist.
You will become.
And will become, yes. And so yeah, like my time at North Park was truly one of a kind, or truly like a wonderful experience. Like I like to say, like I got a experience of college that not a lot of people do, because I had like a pre-COVID, a COVID, and a quote unquote post-COVID uh, experience at North Park or university. And so yeah, it was really interesting. It's like initially, like I came in kind of all like in a sense, like a kid at an amusement park, like just so like, whoa, look at all this stuff. And so, and but yeah, then like COVID like just slapped the world in the face. And so we all got shut down, and which was really uh which is kind of like it made you appreciate the little things, like going outside of your house to somewhere someplace else, which was yeah, it's crazy. But and yeah, so then like the post COVID era arose, and it was cool. It was cool because like initially we had to have masks on, and then like the masks were like, are they needed, are they not? That was a whole like 5 month long debate. So
This still is.
yeah, it was very confusing. So and and yeah, so it's been a wonderful experience though. And I'm though like one of the things like I'm most like honored to like say is that like for the first time ever in like the university's history, um uh last spring semester, which was spring of 2020 two, forgot what year we are in for a second.
It all runs together.
uh, we established a Muslim Student Association MSA for North Park University for the first time ever, and I'm very gratefully and honored to be part of that. I was the secretary of it the first semester, and these past 2 semesters I've been the president, and it's been just a wonderful experience just to both like advocate for a minority group in the university, and also like to learn and grow more in my own religious and spiritual experience, and to really build a name for ourselves. And like 'cause a lot of people times like for like 100% like people, especially in my university, like weren't aware of like some things that I would perceive as common knowledge for Muslims or for like anyone. So it was really cool to teach, be in a position to teach others about the religion, which I'm still learning about. And so it's really cool, and I'm very grateful to be a part of that MSA. So
Yeah, it's so inspiring. And you know, besides that, you know, I mentioned you just graduated, and you said, you know, you hope to become a physical therapist. I corrected you. You will become one, provided that's what you ultimately aspire to be. But yeah, you're moving on. You're starting school this summer. You know, what's your level of excitement there? What are you aspiring to do? What are your studies going to look like? I know you're moving away from home, I think, kind of for the first time. And you know, what's all this stuff? How you feeling about it?
It's a whirlwind of emotions, to say the least. It's just I've been labeling it just like weird for the past like 3 days. But yeah, it's crazy. I start June 5th, a physical therapy program at Midwestern University, which I'm very grateful to be a part of. And yeah, so I'll be commuting for the first couple months. But it's crazy. It's like I've been dreaming of or like aspired to become a physical therapist since like the end of my sophomore year of high school, if not the beginning of my junior year. And like to wrap my head around the concept that like this is actually becoming a reality, like more and more each day a reality, is just amazing. And like I'm very thankful for the physical therapist that I had when I was an inpatient at our now formerly known as RIC and now known as Shirley Ryan Billy Lab, because they really just exemplified like not just what a physical therapist but should be, but like a human that should be, like with the friendship and the care that they provided, and just it was just amazing, the people. And so that's kind of like why I really aspire to become a physical therapist, because of them. And so if they're watching, I thank you. Thank you a million. And so yeah, it's so it's just crazy to think that.
The love of athletics continues.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
going to say,
Right.
Dr. LaRosa, you know what it feels like to aspire to become a physician or a doctor of sorts, and obviously Amir is going to be following in your footsteps to a degree, maybe in a different lane. But what are maybe some words of wisdom you can give him, or some guidance you could provide a young man like him entering into a similar path?
Oh, goodness. First and foremost is let your passion drive you, because your knowledge and your interest in the field of study that you're pursuing is going to open up your scientific brain, and it's going to lead you down so many rabbit holes where you're just going to want to read research studies and learn more about certain things, and just enjoy every moment of it. Your brain took care of you and brought you back, and now you're going to take care of it by intellectually stimulating it with all of this wonderful information that you are just seeking out. And it's the exercise science route, and going into physical therapy is similar. My son also wants to do that. He wants to study kinesiology or exercise science. Not sure exactly where he wants to go with it, but for anyone who is so in love with physical activity and just has such a love of sports and has been through what you've been through medically, to tie all that together and be able to become a clinician serving others is just such a great path in life. And I know that there's going to be times that are challenging, but as long as your brain is stimulated and the information that you're seeking is interesting to you and you keep your passion about it, it's not even going to feel like work. It's just going to feel like a brain vacation. Of course, there's a lot of hard work and dedication and commitment, but there's no doubt in my mind, just from talking to you, that you have that part on lock. So just enjoy every moment of it.
Yeah. And Todd, I saw you, Amir was speaking about the self-talk a little bit ago, and I thought, you were shaking the camera like, yes, I do that too. So, obviously as we wrap up Amir's story and, what has resonated with you and what are some of your takeaways before we have Amir talk a little bit about Walking Tall?
Yeah. Just kind of ditto on and everything that Dr. LaRosa had said, and Chris, yourself, and Amir, yes, I talk to myself every day. You have to be able to, motivate yourself. But your story of survival is something that I will always remember. And you come across in a way that I think you're going to do really, really well as a therapist. You've seen the darkest of dark times. You've been not only in the darkest corner in your life mentally, but also physically. And when dealing with people that are going through traumatic situations that you want to help, now you've been there, you've done that, what they're feeling, those pain points, and that's only going to make you so much greater as a therapist and somebody that serves others, which is what we're supposed to be doing. I think the fact too that your faith in your religion, and it's what we need more of in this world. We need more people to dive deeper into their souls, into their hearts, and believe in something. And I think, you never know everything, right? So you're always going to be learning. Even the greatest teachers of Christianity or Muslims or anybody that's trying to teach the word of any type of faith, there's always an ongoing learning, which is the same that applies to a career path, right? No matter what whatever you do. But my hat's off to you, man. I'm a big fan of yours now, and just know that we're here for you anytime you want. Where you can't walk tall by yourself, and that's what you talked about today. You did it by yourself in terms of the motivation, but those around you, those that surround you and love you, it's inspiring. So yeah, thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, and Amir, I certainly hope you know how I feel about you. I love you, and I'm certainly glad you're here, and I'm glad that you've chosen and decided to join us today. And what Dr. LaRosa and Todd don't know is Amir's one of the very first people I actually spoke to about Walking Tall. We had coffee in a Starbucks, and I said, hey, let me kind of clue you in onto something I'm doing. What do you think? And so Amir's been aware of us prior to most, but Amir, as we've kind of talked and as we've kind of, and you have sat back and watched Walking Tall, I'm sure, and we've texted back and forth and have had conversations, some of what we're doing is resonating with you. So if you don't mind, just talk to us about, what it is the Walking Tall movement has done for yourself, can do for others like yourself, and what you're excited about what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, first, thank you all three for having me, and the positive words that you shared. It means a lot. But what Walking Tall means to me is it can be a lot of things, but just like that we're not meant to do this life alone at all. And we need one another. And I don't think in any holy scripture or religious text that says we're meant to go through this life alone. We need one another. And yeah, the logo for Walking Tall is just a person helping another person out, just standing up. And so, which is something that it kind of goes with something I always like to say. It was just to lead with love. And because when you walk tall for yourself and your others, it falls under the umbrella of love. And just it's just a driving force of why you're doing it. And the passion you have kind of derives from love, and or stems from love. And but yeah, so Walking Tall is something that we all do at one point in our lives, whether we're aware of it or not. Though to have a community and have each other is really we really stand taller when we're together. So
yeah. Well, I got goosebumps here in Lead with Love, right? I think Todd always says love wins, and Dr. LaRosa says just to know you is to love you. And, I think we do that. We lead with love. And Amir, as I said, I love you. Thank you for being here. This has been just an amazing, inspirational story and show. And with that being said, I'd like to encourage listeners to tune in next week when we welcome Miss Aggie Semrad. Aggie is the founder and CEO of our sponsor here at Walking Tall, the Balance Project, and she is an absolute mental health advocate on so many levels, also suffering herself. I'm confident you're not going to want to miss next week's show where we hear Aggie's story and learn more about the Balance Project. So, Amir, before we sign off, there's always one more thing we'd like to tell listeners, and we let our guests lead in that. It's two small little words, and if you don't mind leading us in that, we'd be honored, and the floor is yours.
all right, well, from all of us at Walking Tall, walk tall, my friends.
Walk tall, everybody. Walk tall. Have a great
Walk
week.
tall, everybody. We'd like to thank our sponsor, The Balance Project. Check them out at www.thebalance-project.org. Thank you so much for being a proud supporter of the Walking Tall movement.